Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Secrets of Success from the Sober Business Network. I'm really delighted to have our guest this week, Kate Watson, or Mrs. Watson, as she's known, as her business name is Ask Mrs. Watson, which is what I did. That's how we met, isn't it? I had to reach out and ask Mrs. Watson for some serious help. And she was fantastic, by the way. So,
Thank you.
so Kate, just tell us a little bit about your business and what you do then.
So, AskMrsWatson.com became a thing quite a few years ago now, but I suppose its kind of DNA goes back a lot longer than that. Having just turned 60 this past a week or so, my
Congratulations.
technology and data and things like that goes back, knocking on the door of probably 40 years now, so going back to the 80s. But in terms of it being a thing, probably about 2009-ish was when it all started to sort of come together in its inception. It's only really recently, in the last couple of years, that it's really sort of the vision of what I wanted has sort of come together. So I've got two specialisms, so information governance and data privacy, and that's always been a thing, as I say, from way back when. Not just, since it's been cool and trendy since 2018, but also digital literacy as well, and supporting people. I was always the kind of one in the office that people used to ask me how to do things. So, this is predating Windows and all that kind of stuff. So it's something that I really, really enjoy. So it was how to kind of help the people, because I've worked in corporate a lot and off, like most people over my career, but it was how to help people that didn't have access to that support, so small businesses, individuals, and to kind of put something together into a form where they had a kind of on demand almost, like a little sort of, 999 line, if you like.
That's what it was like for us.
Yeah. So to be able to get something in the moment and it to be about them and what they needed rather than, and there's a place for things like structured training and a place for things when it comes to information security structure, but to make it more about the individual, because all of these things which, technology now is so ubiquitous, it's so everywhere, and it can be really overwhelming in what tool do I use, how do I do this, what do I have to do with that. When you're a small business owner, you've got to kind of be all things to all people, and you've also got very little in terms of time. So my big driver, I suppose, where it came from was, having my two children who are now in their late 20s as babies, is how can I be able to work around them and use the technology to best effect. So it wasn't sort of coming from a kind of geeky side of things, which I must admit to being a little bit of, but it was really more as an end user, saying,
Right.
how can I make technology work for me? How
Yes.
can I do that so that it buys me back time? It saves me stress, all of those things. That was always the driver. And then in about, say, 2009, I came up with this, ask Mrs. Watson.com. And so I went, that's a really good name. You should use that. So that's how it got kind of born, as it were, and then really just developed into with help and advice and pitching in from lots of friends and colleagues and peers to a membership service, which is what it is
Yes.
now, at different levels, but an affordable one. So I like to think they get all the best of the 40 years experience and the corporate experience, and be able to give that to your micro businesses and your small businesses. So yeah, that's how it's come to where we are today, really.
Yeah, fantastic. Kate, can I just ask you to move a little bit closer to your microphone?
Right,
Is
I
that
will do.
okay?
Little
It
bit.
just,
Is
I'll
that a bit
cut.
better?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
That's it.
fabulous. Fabulous.
um, so Kate, we came across each other because I was in a bit of a sticky patch where I had a big corporate client who wanted me to reach an ISO level of security whose number I can't remember, 27 something.
Yeah.
You're laughing at me. It's like
27. Oh, no, not at all. It's only because that's my everyday. It's not
no, I
everybody's
know,
everyday, and
It's like,
thing.
yeah,
So, yeah,
ISO something or other, and you're like,
2700,
yeah, that's
27001. I sound like going, oh,
I
no,
know,
not,
but I tell
not
you
going to
what,
go no, people say.
it did half nearly scupper me. It really did. It was such a stressful couple of weeks because I didn't have it and
Yeah.
I wasn't in a position to invest in it. But The
Yeah.
procurement team allowed me to fill in a survey that demonstrated I was at that standard.
Yeah.
But it was like it was written in a foreign language. And for me, what was just brilliant was that you were able to just translate it all into like, this, Janet, this is what you need to do. And
Yeah.
you wrote all
Mm.
these answers down. You were like, you need this policy, you need to do this process, you need to do this bit of training, and then you'll be all right. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
the relief, honestly. So, to me, I'm a lifelong customer now because I'm just like, that is exactly what I needed in that moment. What
Mm.
typically do people come to you with? Is it that kind of thing, or is it
It
different?
can be a variety of different things, really, and because I say it covers the information governance, security, and the day-to-day using of the software, it can be anything from I've got to deliver this presentation and I can't get it to work or look the way I want it to look. Can you have a look at it for me? Or it can be I've had a data breach
Yeah,
and I don't know what to do. I'm concerned. Or somebody's asked me for, a member of staff or a customer's asked me for a subject access request to, you know, I I need a privacy notice, or I need to update this, and I'm concerned about when you're a small business, anything of those types of things, you have little time, and usually don't have a massive, deep pockets. So
no,
anything sort of in terms of working with legislation, you just think that's going to cost me a lot of money, and
yeah,
I don't know where to go or who to trust or who to. So it's the whole thing about really being a trusted. A lot of it is on trust, and people could be able to come to me and know that I'm going to give them the answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll go, that's a very interesting question. I'll go away and find out, and I'll come and tell you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
because the arena is so vast, so I do get asked all sorts of things from, I can't get this table in Word to work. Can you help? Because I've got to get this
wow,
out. It's
yeah,
usually something where
mm,
there's some kind of deadline around it,
yeah, yeah, I bet,
or I just don't know where to start.
yeah,
So it's having that kind of person on your shoulder almost
yeah,
that
yeah,
goes, right, it's okay. Or, my laptop's broken, I've got to get a new one, I don't know what to get. Or,
yeah,
or things like yourself as well, I'm wanting to deal with a big corporate. And what tends to happen with corporates, as you know, is it's one size fits all.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they'll go, right, here's the stuff that we ask,
yeah,
Esso to fill in, or
yeah,
Tesco's,
yeah.
you fill that in as a
It was
small business.
exactly like that, wasn't
And
it? It was like,
yeah,
I'm scared now.
and it's how do we translate it so that
Mm,
we give them what they're looking for, which
yeah,
is security and assurance, so that if anything happens, they can say, yes, we did all our best efforts, we did all our due diligence, but be able to put it across in such a way that it makes sense for you
yeah,
know an individual business where it's a person and a laptop, or it's two or three people in an organisation, because they're not the
yeah,
same as Tesco, but quite
no.
often organisations say these are our due diligence processes, we can't move from them.
Yeah, but it's
This is
about
how
being
we have to do it.
proportionate, isn't it? Like what is the actual
Oh,
risk as
absolutely.
well? At the
Yeah,
end of the day,
yeah,
what I was doing with that client, without revealing too much, was very, very low risk.
yeah,
And everything's stored in a third party portal, which does have ISO
yeah,
27001,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't as an individual. So yeah, it was interesting. I learned a
Yeah.
lot from it. I did. I learned a lot from
Yeah, and I think
it.
that's always the good thing. And I always say every day's a school day with everything I do, but
Yeah.
certainly that, because from a small business perspective, it doesn't make sense to have these certifications that are designed for big organisations, and plus, like you say, they're not cheap. you
No.
know, you're talking about quite a big chunk of change, which is fine for a big organisation that's getting that return on investment.
Yeah.
But with smaller organisations, it's good to be able to map to them. So
Yeah.
that's why, it was good that they said, right, well, if you can map to this standard,
Yeah. At
then
least
that's
they did
fine.
that.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and that's really, really helpful. And it's good. It's a good time to do it when you're a smaller business, in that if you do grow, you've already got those foundations in
Yes.
place, because
Exactly.
that's quite often is the issue. But particularly if businesses, and it's lovely if that happens, but they suddenly grow really quickly,
Mm, yeah.
that's
And then
usually
you
the
don't
first
have
thing
it.
that starts to
Yeah.
fall over. is you go, oh, right, we haven't got all the infrastructure in
Yeah.
place now because
Yeah.
we're still operating the business like when it was just
Mm,
me, but except now there's
yeah.
30 of us, you know.
Yeah. And what advice would you have for like people like virtual assistants in this space? Because I asked you about that because I've had a couple of different virtual assistants, and there's a real noticeable difference in data security standards between them. So, I've had ones where they've literally been asking me to read out my credit card details to them, and I'm like, no, no,
Yeah, yeah,
that's not how we work. Whereas others, they will be crystal clear. They will have policies up front before you do anything with them. They won't ask you to
yeah,
share passwords. They will do it
yeah,
properly, like ask you to add them as a user onto your Google account or whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah, yeah,
There's a real difference, and I think it's something that for any virtual assistants listening, if you are asking clients for passwords, what would you say to that?
yeah. So it's think I say to everybody really is think about it from your own perspective. What you're asking someone to do would first of all, would you be comfortable if the boot was on the other foot?
Hmm.
You know, so if they were asking you for that information, would you be comfortable with it? And that's usually a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, one of the things that's really good in terms of security, certainly in the UK, is the regulator has a massive resources in terms of what should I do and how should I operate. And it's and also you can apply. There's two pillars really: it's good housekeeping and common sense. So if you're giving someone, if you're giving someone that you're not necessarily, we don't all represent who we are. So just handing your password over to someone isn't necessarily a good idea. So it isn't a good idea.
Mm.
So being able to, when I'm working with that kind of data, it's being able to split it down so that you might have, one half one way and one half another, and using different routes. So different routes of
Yeah.
communication. So it's a bit similar to the way I suppose that something called multi-factor authentication works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your cyber criminals are only going to be able to get hold of your password if you've got it. It's also going to have access to your phone, be able to
Yeah.
access your phone and get that information.
Yeah.
So whenever you're passing sensitive information or anything that's going to access you to any system, it's almost like getting into the mind of the cyber criminal and
Yeah.
thinking, how difficult can I make it,
Mm.
yet make it, be able to still do business? So, we could encase ourselves in concrete and do nothing, but we
Yeah.
have to have we have to balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think resource wise, there are lots of resources to go to. So we say the likes of the regulator. There's the National Cybersecurity Centre, which is
Yes.
free resource.
I've been
So
doing their e-learning modules on your advice.
yeah,
Very good,
fantastic.
actually. Bit boring, but
So
Phew.
well, this is it. This is it. When I deliver the trainings, I'll spice it up a little bit. But
Yeah. I'm
but
sure you do it
it's
better.
there's all sorts of information there, so you don't have to think I can't do anything, or I've got.
Yeah.
If you've got the choice between I need to buy my laptop, but I need to do this as well, I've got to have my privacy.
Mm.
So you've got privacy notice templates through the ICO. Now you'll still have to do some work around it. It depends on the complexity of the personal data and the type
Yeah.
of data and everything else. But it's a start.
Yes,
It's a
exactly.
start, and they have lots of checklists as well. So
Yeah.
but yes, you do have some people will just through a kind of sort of not really understanding how the law's applied,
Yeah.
will go either one way or another. They'll either sledgehammer to crack a nut, or we'll just do anything.
Yeah.
So you've got that
Yeah.
spectrum,
Hmm.
and I can have a little bit of sympathy for that. In that the regulator will always say, "It's up to you. What do you think?" You think, well,
Yeah.
no, I want to. You tell me what to think. And they go, ha
No,
ha,
but
no,
they
because you
won't.
can sue
Yeah.
us. So,
Yeah.
so it's it's a balance,
Yeah.
but yeah, there is lots and lots of support out there.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And how did you come to be such an expert on data security then? What's your background?
It kind of goes back to right back to the 80s, really. In that I worked in the financial services sector,
Right.
so you're working with health data and all sorts of other
Yeah.
data. So this is why quite often I'll say to people, yes, I know it's trendy since GDPR came in.
Yeah.
However, data protection has been a thing for a very long time. So part of one of my roles at a big insurer that I worked with was taking on agents, or appointed representatives used to call them, and making sure they had the data protection license, that they were keeping data securely, that they were complying.
Yeah.
So compliance has always kind of been part of my, whatever job I've in, it's always kind of ended up as being an element of it. But that's really where it started. Was predates the Financial Services Act, which it was like the Wild West before that came in
Yeah.
insurance. That came in 1986. So it was around that time where lots of things, which was really good, were tightening up.
Mm.
More recently, data protection needed a massive overhaul in 2018 because it's a completely different world now. If you think
Yeah.
back to before the internet, and you look at now, data
Yeah.
is everything, is everywhere, and it's very valuable. We're all very valuable, which is why we get Facebook free and why we get all the
Yeah.
other things free, because we're the product.
Yes.
So it's yeah, that's where it kind of all
Yeah.
came from, really. And just, I'm really old, so been around a long time.
So you learn. I love that.
You
Yeah, I'm quite
do, you
I'm
do.
quite old now, so I'm quite clever. Live with it.
No, I'm way ahead of you
I love it.
there.
Love it, love it, love it. Brilliant. What would you say was your biggest learning about starting up a business? Oh, what's that beeping?
uh,
Did you hear that? Was that just in my
what's that?
headphones? No, did you not hear that beeping? No, that was my headphones. Sorry.
No, all
Yeah.
right.
What is your biggest learning about starting up a business?
My biggest learning, I think probably to kind of try not to get overwhelmed, get
Yeah.
help where you can. So being part of a network is
Yes.
a massive thing, particularly when you're an individual business. So
Yeah.
my that's I would say that my biggest learning is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Surround yourself with peers who it's a safe space, if you like.
Yeah.
So, I've got this question, I've got this query, or I'm
Yeah.
struggling with this, or how did you cope with that? Because you've got, they call it, don't they, the hive mind, but you've got all those people together to say,
Yes.
oh, well, actually, have you thought of that? Oh, no, I didn't think of that, actually. So I think, yeah,
Yeah.
don't do it alone. It's
Yes.
that's probably, that's probably the biggest lesson. Let's say,
Yeah.
being a sole trader, but you're not sole as in on your
Yes.
own.
Yeah. I think you're totally right, and it's interesting. I feel like in the corporate world, people are generally trying to compete with each other and stab each other in the back. Big
Oh
generalization.
yes.
Not
Oh, sorry,
everyone.
I was a bit too
But
emphatic
yeah,
there, wasn't I?
that is what
Oh
it's
yes.
like, though, isn't it? That is what it's like. And then
Yeah, well,
in the
this is
small
it. And
business world,
silos and
everyone just wants to help each other. It's just lovely. Absolutely love it.
exactly.
Yeah.
It is lovely, and I think that's a sad thing about say the corporate world, and they're all human beings just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
But I think there's something about that environment that seems to make people think, like, I've got to hang on to this knowledge, or I've got
Yeah.
to be in this silo, or I've got to make a light. It's a bit like traders, really, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
It's all those kind of things, and
Yeah.
I think it's rare within a big organisation, because I think you're talking about numbers of people.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's small businesses and it's business owners, you're all just trying, you're not trying to be the next Bill Gates or the next,
No.
you're not trying to make a fortune. You want to be able to do what you love,
Yeah.
do it well, and be able to just have the lifestyle that you want,
Yeah. Exactly.
and all the rest of it, the well-being, the flexibility, all the
Yeah.
reasons that people go self-employed.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's a different world. Very interesting. Very eye opening.
It's a very different world. Yes, yeah,
Very.
could do several episodes just on that.
I know,
Yeah,
we really
it might
could
not be up to
actually.
broadcasting, but
Oh, and what about things that you might have regretted as such? So have you made any mistakes in setting up your business? Things that you look back on and think,
oh, loads,
"Oh, I wish I'd not done that."
loads.
Yeah, me
Loads, I
too.
think.
Tell us about it.
Things, things like, and this is probably a common thing, I think, but when it comes to pricing and
Right.
understanding the what you need to charge and what you know how you should do that, how you should uh, make sure that things like your admin. So you delivering
Yeah.
the service and then you're not charging people because, oh, I haven't got time to send an invoice because I'm doing, but hang on, if you don't send an invoice, you don't get paid, you don't pay the mortgage. So those are things I think that have been things that I've not necessarily got right in the past.
Yeah.
Um, and all the other things around kind of maybe trusting the wrong people
Oh,
and getting
interesting.
advice from the wrong people. I think that's probably
Mm,
something that will resonate with a lot of people, and that
yeah.
always hurts when
Yeah.
you've trusted someone and you suddenly realize, yeah, you weren't nice,
Oh, that's
and
not that.
it's how you
Yeah.
recover from
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Um,
that's a shame.
so
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, in terms of actual mistakes, a sort of a kind of a practical example, if you like. And I use these when I'm training people as well as saying,
Yeah.
look, I'm telling you from a place of this happened to me, so I'm trying to
Yes.
help you. So in another life, I used to be an estate agent. I say to people I'm cured now, but I used to be an estate agent,
Cured.
and and again, this was just the internet was just about coming in, but
Yeah.
at that time you would prepare your advert would go out on paper, so it wasn't on, nothing was online or anything like that, so you had a deadline every week to do your stuff. So we do all the adverts in Word, and what I would do is that was how I would track who I was charging for what advert. So I'd have a Word document, I'd have all the advertising copy, I'd have how much it was, and then it would be printed off and it would go off to the people. And then every week for the next week, I would go file, save as, and then give it another name. And thought, yes, it's a really great system until you do something in a hurry, you hit save, you close it, you've then overwritten the previous week. So you then lose I think I lost about £1,000 because I didn't have any records.
Oh, yeah.
Now, had I done a document template, wouldn't
Yeah.
have had that problem. So
Yes.
that's my document template story.
Yeah, I
So
like that.
yeah, so when I'm
Yeah, we've
talking to
all
people
done
about
that
what,
as well.
yeah,
I've got
exactly,
I've got a series of presentations for a course that I run, and I haven't got one of them because I did save as like it
yeah,
exists only in the video of me talking through it. The slides no
yeah,
longer
yeah,
exist, and one day I do need to rebuild that because I will need it.
yeah,
But I just
yeah.
exactly that
But
problem.
that's
Ah,
that's what happens, isn't it?
yeah,
Almost, they do say the lessons that stick are the ones that either cost you money or
yeah,
give you pain.
yes,
So
yeah,
that's one of the nice things, is to be able to kind of say to people, this is not coming from a place of perfection, and
no,
it's the same with all sorts of things. Data incidents, we're all
yeah,
human. Just because I work in data doesn't mean I'm not vulnerable to clicking on the
yeah.
wrong link or.
I'll ask you a much nicer question now. So, what are you most proud of in your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, as far as the company's concerned, I think I get a real kick out of, and use our example, when I know I've made an impact.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know that somebody's been able to do something because I've helped them, and
yeah,
that I get a massive kick out of. That I'm
yeah.
really proud of when or when several years later, say if I've been delivering a program or something like that, and I did some stuff for, they call the Glass House now, but they used to call the Sage Gateshead a big theatre space, and they were one of the um, a long time ago now, that I did some work with their staff. And I went back a few years later. So, we finished what we were doing, and I went off and did other things, and like you do, and then went back to do some more stuff. And they said the things you taught us 10 years later, we're still using, and we still talk about you
That's
after
amazing.
10 years. And I was kind of
Yeah,
like, whoa, that's brilliant.
that is fantastic, isn't
So,
it? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And you
so
should be
it's,
proud. You should be really proud. I honestly do not know what I would have done without you in that situation.
oh no,
I'd
I that's,
it was like
that's
serendipity that we just crossed paths the day before or something. And
yeah, well, that's it.
yeah,
It's funny how
it,
these things happen, isn't it? And
it is. Yeah.
it's really nice to be able to go, you know,
Yes.
don't worry, I got this.
I know. I was like,
It just, it just feels,
yeah,
it's just a nice,
yeah,
it's a nice feeling to be able
yeah.
to do that.
Yes, it
So,
is, isn't it?
so
Yeah,
yeah, I can't see me ever retiring. I think I'll just carry
yeah,
on doing what I do as long as I can possibly do
yeah,
it. I say the thing with the commercials. The problem is, I say if I won a lot of money tomorrow, I'd still do it.
Oh, I love
So,
it. Yeah,
so that's always hard from a commercial point of view because I always feel really good. I think I love this
yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
I
That's
don't want to charge
interesting.
anybody, but I have to because I want to mention
Yeah, you do have to because you've not won the lottery, sadly.
it. Exactly.
um, and then my next question, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but I was going to ask you about being in the Sober Business Network, but I'm not even sure if you're in the Sober Business Network yet, but I'll recruit you
Well,
into it right now if you're not.
I am, yeah, I'm in, that I want to be in. If
Yes.
I'm in, it's only because I haven't gotten round to it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you
I'm
might be. You
definitely,
might have joined. I
I
can't
haven't,
remember,
yeah,
but
I haven't checked what I need to check to make sure I'm in. So, but
but you in. Yeah.
I think it's ace. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a really nice community, and you won't have had a chance to come to one of our networking meetings yet, but I think it'll be really. Actually, I think you'll be really popular in the network because there's a lot of small businesses who need
Right.
help with this stuff, and there's a few virtual assistants,
Yeah.
and definitely some people who will, if they really had a long hard look in the mirror, might not be completely secure about answering their data security questions if push came
Yeah.
to shove, and actually
Yeah.
would really
And it's,
benefit from meeting you. So I think it'll be really, especially because you don't drink as well, it kind of,
yeah,
there's just
exactly. Yeah.
something about it that just binds us together in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely, and
yeah,
that's well, I think it is definitely um, the more that I see, then the more that you notice, the more people go. Do you know what? There's a big shift, which is really
yeah,
really nice, and it'd be
yeah,
nice to see in which I know we've talked about this before,
yeah,
in organisations where there isn't an assumption or say, oh, you're not drinking, why?
yeah,
And it'd be nice to not have that follow-up question.
yes.
So yeah, it is.
I encourage employers to ask their staff to use the term, are you drinking? Not, why are you not drinking? Just,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. It's so much
And
better. It's
yeah,
so much
and do you
better.
know, it's kind of what Gen Z do. They ask each other, "Oh, do you drink?" in the same way that we would have asked each other, "Do you smoke?" before you offered someone a cigarette,
Yeah,
which is really interesting. It's not. It's changing. And the younger generation coming into the workforce will help shift things along. But the really progressive employers are already noticing this and making changes. They're the ones that I work with. There's some dinosaurs who turned me down. They're like, we don't
yeah,
have a drinking problem around here. We don't want to tell people what to do. We don't want to
yeah.
ban alcohol. And I'm like, no one asked you to ban alcohol or to
Well,
tell
this is
anyone
it.
what to
It's not
do.
a. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
It's about people feeling comfortable in their space because peer pressure is a massive thing,
yeah,
massive, massive thing. Whether it's alcohol, whether it's smoking, whether it's eating, whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah,
There's this, when there's people in a group, it's that I don't want to stand out. I don't want to look
yeah,
different.
yeah,
So it's very easy to succumb to.
yeah,
But it's what's nice about being, I think, part of a network like Summer Business Network is that you kind of feel like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay for me to say, um, you know, I'm taking the car, or what, or it was a
yeah,
very recent example. I'm taking the car, I'm not drinking, and that thankfully I was all ready for I'm not having a drink and having
yeah.
that discussion. And it just never came, which was lovely.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
it
Yeah,
was just like it was as if it was a non thing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that was really nice for me because
yeah,
it's that feeling of awkwardness, and that's what I want to see going. As you say, just making it um, normalising
yeah.
not drinking rather than
Exactly.
normalising drinking.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
just letting people have personal choice, really. That's what it comes down
exactly,
to, isn't it?
exactly. And that's the thing. And it's not about kind of being Puritan or anything like that. It's
No,
about just having that choice and that
exactly.
not being made to feel as if it's something strange.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, yeah. I think it's great. I think it's great what you do. Absolutely,
Oh, thanks,
I think
Kate.
it's great, and the way you do it and the way you're putting it across is
Mm.
really, really, really good. So
Oh,
so I'm
thank you.
looking forward to hopefully getting you into a lot more organisations.
Let's
So
hope
that would be
so.
really, really good.
Let's hope
Yeah.
so. Come on.
Yeah.
So my final question that I ask all of my guests, Kate, is what is your favourite thing about being sober?
My favourite thing about being sober is
Yes.
being able to drive and not getting a bad
Yes.
head.
Nice. Simple.
Being
Love it.
able to drive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know. Saves a bloody fortune, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I say, it's just nice to kind of,
Mm,
and as I say, I've never, was never a big drinker anyway, but the consequence of that is you then can't take very much. So
yeah.
you lose a day. You have a hangover
Yeah.
and you lose a day, you feel sick and you think, this is wasting everybody's
It's a
time.
complete
So
waste of
it's
your
just
life,
nice.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
yes, no hangovers and driving.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you. And before we wrap up, you must tell everyone how they can find you. What's your website? Where are you on social media? How do they get hold of you?
Okay, so the website is askmrswatson.com. If you visit the website, you'll find the links to my socials on there. But generally speaking, if you ask mrswatson.com without any spaces or ask Mrs. Watson without any spaces, you will stumble over me in various places. But
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram as Ask Mrs. Watson. I'm on LinkedIn. You'll find me there. But again, the tag is Ask Mrs. Watson. So, but if you start with the website, and then that tells you all about the memberships and what you can do, and get in touch and have a chat. I love talking. You probably noticed. So I'm more than happy to have a chat with people about it and see if there's people I can help.
I'm sure there are. Yeah. Yeah. I'm certainly going to be making sure that people in the network know about you and your services. So, yeah, hopefully we can drum up some
Brilliant.
more
Thank you.
customers for you. Yeah. And if you
Just
are interested in joining our Sober Business Network, you can just head to soberbusinessnetwork.co.uk and go to the join and join us. Come and join us for networking meetings, collaboration, WhatsApp chats, Facebook group. Come on the YouTube channel. You are very welcome to join us if you're watching this and thinking of diving in. Then just go for it. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Thank you, Kate.
thanks so much. Thanks. Take care.